On today's show, a review of the RS Formula Racing Rig by RSeat. Welcome to Inside Sim Racing. I'm Sean Cole with my good buddy,
Darren Ganji.
And today we are here for another rig review, and this comes to us from RSeat. And many of you might know RSeat by the Evo V3, which is the rig that Darren and I, we've both been driving this rig for quite some time now, huh?
Over a year, yeah, and we reviewed it, I think in late 2010.
Okay.
So yeah, we've had the RSeat Evo, but this is obviously a much different setup.
Completely new direction.
Completely new direction from the Evo. As a matter of fact, well, you know what? There are some similarities to the Evo. Mm-hmm. The wheel deck and its adjustability, and then the pedal deck and how it can tilt. They've actually made some refinements to that pedal deck as well, but this is the RS Formula, and some of you may have seen it maybe on our Facebook or somewhere on the net. They just actually started publicizing this rig, I don't know, a couple months ago. So we are lucky enough to have one here. Actually, ours is a little used. We got it, they had one over at the USGP in Austin, Texas a few weeks back, and from there it came here. So honestly, ours is a little beat up, but I don't think we really care much, do we?
No, a little touch up will make it perfect.
Obviously this is a RS Formula, so it looks with this fiberglass like a little Formula One car, which is really cool. So this version's made completely of steel, very strong steel. I mean, I don't think there's any pot metal or any weak points on this, all welded together. Again, it has a fiberglass seat and a fiberglass cover that makes it look like an F1 car. So very unique as far as sim rigs go. And the other thing that's unique is this sitting position. I mean, this is like being in a Formula One car.
Yeah, you are almost upside down. Well, that's not the right wording. You are laid out.
For sure.
Now, the rig is then adjustable in several areas with screws or knobs. There is adjustment for the seat to move forward and backward, the pedals to go forward and back as well, and adjust the angle. And then the wheel deck can be adjusted up and down a little bit, along with a little bit of adjustment of the angle. It is pre-drilled to accommodate the Thrustmaster, Logitech, and Fanatic wheels. And the pedal plate is also drilled to accommodate all three different versions of pedals as well.
So, like we mentioned, this is a unique design as far as seating position. Now, most of us have never sat in a Formula car. I know I definitely haven't. I've never sat with my feet so high, basically at chest level. So, you know, and that all is gonna take some getting used to. And then the wheel deck as well has a higher sitting point. You know, you're kind of looking over the wheel to an extent. It's real laid out Formula One style. And at first looking at it, I was like, I don't know if that's gonna work for me, but man, we'll get more to that, you know, what are our thoughts on it, but definitely unique.
Well, and imagine a Formula One driver and you see his helmet just sticking out of the cockpit and the wheel is right there.
Yeah.
Like his knuckles come out of the cockpit. Now, that's only like this high off the ground. So his feet have to be basically in this position.
So, Sean, why don't we tell them how much this thing's going for?
Well, it's a Formula One type chassis, so you expect Formula One type pricing. $1,599.
So $1,600.
It's not cheap.
Not including shipping.
Right.
And it's pretty much going to be available everywhere. US, all the RSeat distributors. I got to tell you, I talked to the RSeat guys behind the scenes before we got this rig, and they told me the price. Actually, I talked to Dimitri, the US distributor. By the way, Dimitri, thank you so much for sending this to us. He told me the price tag, and I scoffed instantly. I was like, ooh, man, that's pretty steep. You know, because the RSeat Evo V3 is about $500 thereabouts, and then the V2 is like $399. You can still get it for. So
yeah,
man, I'm like, wow, you guys are really jumping up. But this is pretty much $1,600 worth of rig sitting right here.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a long ways between a $500 and a $1,600 rig, and it doesn't come down to needs as much as desire, I think.
Yep. So what about colors? What are the different options?
This is where it gets cool, and when you spend this kind of money, this is the kind of options you get. This thing comes in blue, red, black, white, silver, and then you can kind of do combinations of colors. So I don't know what you want to call those little grommets, the circles. We didn't really get to the construction in detail, but those little rings that you see. Like there was even a model that had silver and green that I thought were really cool.
Pretty customizable as far as being able to get it from the factory. As far as customizing it once you get it, I'm sure people will figure out something, but I don't think there's going to be much customization needed. Comes also with a keyboard tray and a mouse tray that's all integrated nicely.
Comes with a butt kicker mount already ready to go, so it's the clamp-on style. It's like that socket adjustment that people used to do, or adapter. But it's right there at the bottom of the seat, right where you want it.
Now, as far as the assembly goes, pretty straightforward. Honestly, ours came used, so we don't know exactly how it came packaged. I know how RSeat packages their stuff, and we don't even have any footage of us unassembling or taking it. Actually, we have a few pictures of us with it spread out, but they usually come nicely packaged and protected, and I'm sure if anything happens, RSeat's going to cover you. But assembly's pretty straightforward. It's all pretty much plug and play. I mean, it's, the wheel deck uprights are only going to go in one spot.
Yeah, and it's a little tricky. You didn't have a lot of room to work, but that's not something you're going to be adjusting. It's just putting it together one time, lock it down good, and never deal with it again.
Adjustments are handled by either sliding the seat forward and back, and there's no seat rail, so it's similar to the RSeat post design where the post is down in the middle. You've got a knob that loosens it, and then you can extend the seat forward and back. No tilt adjustments. It is what it is. And then you can move the pedals forward or back, and then you can adjust the rake of the wheel pretty much up and down. Needless to say, this is now on Sean's platform and has become Sean's rig. So what is the easiest way to get this thing adjusted for yourself, would you say?
Like normally I'd build a rig backward to how I adjust this one. So since that seat is sort of predetermined in its angle, the wheel is really the first thing. You can't move it forward and back, you just have some angle. So you're gonna wanna position that seat to where the wheel is just right, and then you're actually gonna do the pedals last, is how I found it worked best, versus when you do a build your own, you kind of start at the pedals and go the other way. But this one, you're working that way, and then you get it just right, and it's an interesting driving position.
Definitely. So RSeat's claim is that this rig can fit anywhere from 4'11" up to 6'6" tall. I'm about 6'4.5", so about 6'5", and Sean's about 5'5". I would agree 100% with that claim.
Me too, I bolted it to my platform, so you can tell I agree.
And I even fit in Sean's platform. We had to do a little bit of extending. Actually, we had to extend it anyway. This is a long rig, by the way. This is a lot longer than any rig.
I think it's the longest rig we've ever tested,
It's definitely one of the longer ones. But yeah, it's I would agree with the length claim.
Yeah. Now, we kind of talked about the driving position, but we really didn't talk about this seat. And even though it looks like the RSeat from prior, this is a completely redone version. The leather on it is really, the pleather on it is a really upgraded pleather. It's got a good feel to it.
Feels more like a leather.
It does.
And cushion.
Yeah.
I would say they tripled the cushion, especially in the butt, because I had to add some extra cushion to my Evo because it's known for not having enough butt cushion. This one definitely does, man. It's very padded.
I am not even joking here. I could sit down in this rig, close my eyes, and probably pass out for a couple of hours.
I can pull the padding all the way out. Look at that. So yeah, it's nice, very thickly padded. Man, this is a very professional feel, I would say.
It even has this extra head cushion because in that reclined position, back of your head is definitely going to be laying down on the seat, which normally I don't do that when I'm driving.
Yeah, I definitely don't either. But yeah, in this position, you kind of are.
Yeah.
So that pretty much tells you everything about the rig, box cover stuff. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to give you pros, cons, rev scale, and final thoughts.
Peggy 3.
What makes a driver a champion? Determination, speed, courage. There are many drivers with these qualities, but they're not always enough to make a champion. A champion needs something more. When you push yourself to the limits, there is only one thing that can really make the difference: control. This is your challenge. This is WRC3.
Welcome back to our review of the RSeat RS Formula Sim Rig. And before we get to the pros and cons, why don't we talk about how we set it up for our testing?
First off, T500 wheel, and you know what? Talk about looking cool, man. With the red and the Ferrari F1 rim, this thing looks like a Ferrari F1 car almost.
Like it was made to go together.
Yep. Club Sport pedals. We also attached it to Sean's base. We had mentioned that a little bit at the beginning, which made it a little bit easier to get in and out of, for sure. Because that was one of the questions I saw when we posted pictures on Facebook. You know, how is it to get in and out of? And we tried it on the ground, and we tried it now, obviously, in this setup. And either is not as bad as I thought. I mean, I thought I was going to be, especially me being 6'4" and us getting a little old, you know, I thought it was going to be difficult to get in and out of, but it's not.
No, all you had to do is really drop your butt in and kind of swing your feet
Slide
in.
your feet around.
Not too bad.
Nope.
So now let's talk about the pros and cons of this rig, and we got a pretty good list here. So why don't you get them going with the pros?
Well, we just kind of alluded to it. Looks cool, and with this wheel, and I saw a picture of it with this setup before we got it, and I was like, oh my god, with that F1, this thing looks like a friggin' race car.
Yeah.
So, talk about really cool looking. Next up, very comfortable seat. We weren't expecting it to be as comfortable as it is, but I'd say it ranks. If I was to rate it on a scale from 1 to 10 in comfort, I'd give it a 10.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, I could nap in the thing.
Yep.
Another pro is the overall adjustment and the fit. I mean, once you get the seat, the wheel, and the pedals, I mean, I got it, so I was just dialed in perfectly.
Me too. You know, and that's 5'5" to 6'4" and a half, whatever I am. We both felt comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, I tell you what, in the 5'5" position, you know, I was doing the circus, you know, and I could barely squeeze in there, but I could, but man, once I'm laid out, it's like, hey, let's go racing.
Yeah, and the other thing, once you are racing, there's no wiggle. This is a very stiff rig.
Very stiff. It's solid as a rock. Next thing, and RSeat's known for this thing's drilled for all wheels and pedals. Thrustmaster, Logitech, Fanatic, all ready to go for any of the major wheel and pedal sets on the market right now. It comes with an extra keyboard and mouse holder, which, man, they set this thing up for PC racing, obviously. This is, you know, hey, man, if you're a console racer and you want something like this, all the power to you, but if you're gonna spend $1,600 on a rig, I'm glad to see that they put a keyboard and mouse option because they're looking at this for the hardcore sim racer.
Yeah, I completely agree. So another pro is, we mentioned earlier, the color choices. I mean, you're spending some money, but now you can pick basically your favorite color. I mean, they had all the colors I would have picked.
Yep.
Another pro is the F1 driving position. Maybe not everybody wants to be in that position, but it's truly authentic. And for the guys who I think there are a lot of guys who sim race particularly to do Formula One, and they're certainly going to be the ones who are just drooling over that.
But let's transition to driving it in for a stock car. I talked to Sean, you know, he had it set up and I kept asking him, hey, how is it? What's, you know, we were Thanksgiving weekend and I, you know, how's this, how's that? And I said, try stock car in it. I want to know how it feels. And we kind of laughed, but how was it?
You know, I thought I was going to have too much wheel in my face. No, it was fine. The only problem is the gray-haired, you know, blue-haired lady. I was kind of looking under the wheel at times and over the wheel at other times. And that's only because it's sticking up.
But that could also be changed with your monitor.
Exactly, changing where you position them, and that would definitely change that out. And more importantly, though, the comfort kind of overpowered like the not NASCAR position.
Right.
So all of a sudden it's like, yeah, but look how I'm driving. I'm very cozy.
Yep. Now, next thing, another pro is the pedal plate, okay? The original RSeat Evo 3, it had a tendency, if you didn't lock that thing down, cinch it really tight, or have it up against the wall, the pedal plate would drop on you just because of the design. Well, they've actually changed the design to where there's notches, to where when you lock that thing in, it isn't going anywhere.
Right.
So that's another pro. And another thing, totally puts you in a cockpit, you know, puts you in that position, you know, makes you feel like you're getting into a race car where, You know, I saw a comment in one of the forums about a lot of them are set up like, actually I know where it was, the Foo rig. Niels Husingveld just came out with a video about his plans, which, by the way, Niels will still be doing your review of your rig soon, but he was talking about how most rigs are setting up like you're driving a bus.
Right.
Where, needless to say, nobody drives a bus like this. So
No.
Totally puts you in there. And then another one, no center post. You know, that's, who wants to get in and get around a center post?
Yeah.
And they've taken their design now and gone full hoop.
Yeah.
Which I totally agree with, because although we love the Evo, it still has some deck wobble.
Yeah.
It's completely eliminated with this design.
Yeah. One thing I want to add to the pro list is just the overall quality of the components. I mean, that fiberglass shell is beefy. That's not just cosmetic. I mean, I'm not standing on mine, but that thing's strong. I mean, that's what the pedals are mounted to.
I'd say on the pedal deck, you could probably stand on it without it breaking.
Yeah, and we mentioned the upgraded synthetic leather covering, which is, it's very upgraded materials, so you are getting something for your money there.
That's for sure. And so that leads us to some cons now.
All right, well, the first one is the price. I mean, and I'm not going to call that a con. I mean, it's expensive.
You get what you pay for.
Thank you.
You know, and you mentioned this before we went live, and it's, you know, would I knock a Ferrari for being expensive?
Right.
No.
No.
You know, would it hurt the score because it's too expensive? Not if it's what you get, what you pay for. When you're paying $1,600 for a piece of crap,
Right.
You know, then I'm like, dude, that's a con.
Right.
It's way too expensive for what you're getting. So, as much as it is, we have it on the cons list, it's kind of hard to knock it for the price, considering you get what you pay for.
Yeah, I just know that everybody out there, that's the first thing they're going to think about, and comparing it to all the other rigs out there.
Yep.
Since our first con was already kind of debatable, price, our next con is equally debatable, and that's the Formula One driving position. I think some people are a little afraid. That's a big commitment to be laying down or laid back like that to drive. Maybe they want something more comfortable.
And low to the ground, too.
But for me, I like it. It's authentic. It turned out to be even more comfortable than I thought it was going to be as well.
Next con, if you just have a standard monitor, it's going to be tough to get it exactly right as far as your monitor goes. Even like the way Sean's got it now, and we're using our 80/20 stand that's very adjustable, it's still, which takes us to the next con, the wheel is covering, you know, I'd say 10-15% of that middle monitor. So, you know, this is a case where I had a rig, my old rig, where the monitors were facing me like this, and I didn't like it because I was having to look up. But this rig, you almost want the monitors tilted at an angle and up a little bit, because you're looking up.
Yeah, and in iRacing, I just adjusted my FOV, my field of view, and I was able to get it so it felt like I was very much in these cars. And the last con that really can come to mind is that there's no shifter mount on the rig, but it's such a Formula One style rig, I don't think a lot of people are going to be looking for a shifter.
Well, and in the position that you're sitting, it would be kind of funky, you know? It's just, it could work, and yeah, you could mount one somewhere, but again, if you're going the Formula One route, who's hand shifting in a Formula One car nowadays? I mean, we're talking, you know, Grand Prix legends, and so that's going to wrap up our pros and cons, and that's just going to take us to the rev scale, which is, I don't know, we could have 2 rev scale scores really for this rig.
Yeah, we can, and we've kind of been a little all over the place, but I think we're both pretty comfortable now, huh?
Yeah. So what do you think it is?
We're gonna give it a 9.
Yep.
We were down to an 8 at times, but not for long, and then we were as high as a 10 for times, and we really settled on a 9. I think that's fair.
I do too, and I gotta say though, it's pretty close to perfection.
Yeah.
I mean, thinking about this rig, now we're into our final thoughts, what's wrong with it? The seating position, if that's not what you, but again, if you're gonna buy, you're looking for something like this. I've become a huge Formula One fan this season, and by the way, congratulations to Sebastian Vettel, not that he's watching, but what a cool F1 season this was. It was so fun to watch, and it really made me more of a fan of F1, Formula One racing. It is the best, the pinnacle of racing in the world. And there's a lot of fans of Formula One. We see it in our views when we cover, you know, F1 2000 games by Codemasters. This thing's bitching. You know, it deserves a 10. I think giving a 9 is almost shorten it. You know?
I agree with you.
But we could find some flaws. I think the wheel deck could have a little more adjustability. Not much. I think they've really refined, you know, some of the things, and I know they've made some improvements to the Evo as well. I think that new pedal plate's on it.
They've learned from this one a little bit.
I think they've got cushion. Well, they've learned from our reviews and other people's reviews. So thumbs up, RSeat. Man, you guys hit the mark on this rig.
I'll tell you where I'm coming from on this rig. I would give it a 10 for me personally. I am predominantly an open wheel driver. I can see a lot of hardcore oval guys not wanting to be in that position or wanting a shifter mount, so they're not going to be leaning towards it, and that's why we took the score down. But that's really considering people who maybe aren't in the market for the rig. Now, again, get back to where I'm coming from. I'm Sean the Saw Cole. In this driving position, I mellowed out. It allowed me to be a lot more smooth. Something about the leverage. I'm also not doing what we call faux feedback, where I tense up like I'm lifting weights while fighting very lightweight force feedback.
You know what, that goes back to us not having force feedback. We started without force, we're getting off subject here, but we started without force feedback, and I do it too. I tense up to just create that feed, you know, that tension that exists now in force feedback wheels, so.
Yeah. And this allowed me to be very gentle. So I'm a little optimistic it might actually help my overall lap times as well.
So again, this is available worldwide. You can go to rseat.net if you want to check one out. They also have their other rigs available. They also have a new triple monitor stand and they basically have this wheel deck that you can clamp right to your desk, which is a really cool new feature, or new peripheral, I should say.
Yeah.
So if you want to check it out, $1,600, could be pricey, but hey man, you're looking for an F1 rig, this is the one to get.
Yeah, it'd be hard to beat.
So that's gonna wrap things up. For Sean Cole, I'm Darren. For Sean the Saw Cole, I'm Darren Ganji. We'll see you guys next time. Sit you like you're sitting in a Formula 1 car.